Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss how the government are actively encouraging people to go out and get drunk this Saturday, July the 4th, and yet 2 days before this ill-advised event, there isn't even the legal framework to do so. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So yeah, this Saturday, pubs are allowed to open again. There's a whole raft of, I would say, ill-advised businesses that are going to be opening up. And at the moment, this is unlawful. So the law, of course, needs to be changed again. That's fine. The coronavirus regulations have already, there's already 4 versions of it out. So there's going to need to be a 5th. The problem is that the point at which I'm recording this was like, Thursday lunchtime, really. No notice of the changed regulations has appeared, and I've sort of deliberately left recording this as late as I dare because I thought, well, they're bound to come out at some point, but they haven't. Now, what this means is it's surely, if not impossible, very difficult for pub landlords to really understand what they need to have in place for opening. Yes, there is guidance on the government website, which I'll come to in a bit, but what will the law say? Are there, restrictions? And the police, for example, the police need to get ready for this. This is coming out on a Saturday. Police groups had actually advised the government, if you must do this thing, can you do it midweek? Can you open pubs midweek? Not on a Saturday, not at a weekend when it's likely to be busiest. In fact, frankly, looking at the weather, it's not going to be that great. So I don't know whether that will make it better or worse. It may actually improve the situation, have fewer people going out. So then we might be having a small mercy there. Now, the last regulation update was on the 12th of June. Just for a little bit of context here. 12th of June is when number 4 came out. And this was for changes which came into force on June the 15th. So on that occasion, they gave nearly 3 days notice. It was like, 2.5 really, because it came out midday on the 12th. So, but over 2 days notice. And that was not considered enough. And now here we are with a day and a half to go and still nothing at the point at which I'm doing this. Nothing. Now, we know they can't just open up normally. The regulations are not just going to say, yeah, pubs are open now. That's not the case. So that means that there will need to be measures in place. And as I say, if you look at the guidance on the government website, it does talk about the sort of things you'll need to consider. But the thing is, it makes no difference what ministers say pubs should do or even what some guidance on the government website says you should do. What will matter is the updated regulations, because this is what defines in law your rights and responsibilities. And this would be true at any time, but especially with the current government, who are always misunderstanding their own laws. So the problem we've got with these coronavirus regulations, they bypass Parliament altogether. The government are using what are called statutory instruments to enact laws, which is not really what you're supposed to use statutory instruments for, and they're completely bypassing Parliament. So they don't want it subject to any scrutiny. They're bringing the regulations out very short notice ahead of when they come into force, and they're making a right arse of it as well. Numerous times government ministers have tried to explain what the regulations mean, given certain scenarios. Okay, in this scenario, what can we do? And quite a lot of the time, they've been found to be completely wrong. The other issue is that the pubs will need to sort out their staffing. But, without currently knowing what the working conditions are going to be exactly. So here I am, Thursday lunchtime, imagining myself to be a publican. And, planning to open up the pub to hordes of pissed up Johnson supporters in less than 48 hours. The marketing has been done for me because the Treasury have been tweeting. The Treasury have been advising people to go to the pubs and get tanked up. So the Treasury have told them to come to my establishment. That's fine. Get completely pissed to the point where social distancing becomes a physical impossibility. Nice one. Only what do I need to do to comply with the law? After all, I don't need the police finding enough violations of the regulations for me to lose my licence. So I checked the government website again. We're still on number 4 of the Health Protection Coronavirus Restrictions England Regulations 2020, which reminds me, saw a tweet that just had me pissing myself this morning. So, when discussing this, someone from Scotland said how pleased they were to be from Scotland where the pubs were not opening. And I'm afraid I just had to say that is a whole collection of words that you just not normally see strung out. A Scot pleased that the pubs aren't open. I took the meaning, obviously, but anyway, just emphasise the fact that this would apply in England only anyway. So the guidance says that I can reopen this Saturday, but without anything further. There's nothing in the regulations about, opening. Now, will I, for example, have a role in challenging groups that do not appear to be from the same household? Because the rules say that you've got to be in groups only from the same household at the moment. What's my role in determining that? Is it like, because, publicans do have responsibilities. For example, they have some responsibility for making sure that under 18s do not buy a drink. Am I going to have a similar legal responsibility to do my best to challenge people who don't appear to be from the same household? Like if you've got a group of 6 middle-aged men, for example, possible they're from the same household, bloody unlikely. Or will that be entirely their responsibility? I don't know. Will I only be allowed to serve customers in the beer garden? I mean, at the moment, if you look at the rules, you could only have a couple of groups inside anyway, and everyone else would have to be outside. Well, how do you even police that? How do you organise that? How do you arrange for that? Is that still going to be the case when the new regulations come out? Are they abandoning that? I don't know. It's forecast to be pissing it down on Saturday in parts of the country. Depends where you are. A lot of people aren't going to be in the beer garden, really, are they? Even if it's covered. I can see from the guidance that I'm supposed to take a record of all visitors to my premises. Now, the reason for this is obvious. If someone tests positive for COVID and they'll say, where were you? I was down the pub. Then they'll want to get in touch with that pub to get in touch with everyone else and tell them all to isolate. So that could be half a city straight away. Assuming they can contact them, of course, because, our current tracing program is only actually contacting a quarter of the people who are testing positive to find out who they've been in contact with. But on the off chance, someone who is one of those quarter of the people. Does that mean, in order for me to take these records, does that mean everyone's going to need ID? I can't let anyone in if they haven't got ID to prove where they're from. Or do I take their word for it when they put down their name and address as Boris Butcher of 1 Arsend Gardens? It says that the government will develop a system to allow me to do this. And the details will follow shortly. The problem is that was written down weeks ago, and that's still what's written down today. There's nothing there, nothing further there, and I've got less than 2 days to go. And realistic, you can say I've got less than 1 day to get ready, because basically, if I'm going to open on Saturday, I need to be ready on Friday, don't I? I'm supposed to put social distance markers down to remind customers to keep apart. Problem is that it won't take very long at all before any markers will be utterly useless, as many of the customers will be blind enough to drive to Barnard Castle. I'm supposed to reduce the number of surfaces touched by customers as well. Or what are they supposed to hold on to stop them face planting the floor then? And remember, amongst all this, pubs are deemed safe enough to open this Saturday, but not theatres, for example. Why? We're told that the problem with theatres is that the performers will be talking and singing very loudly, which means more droplets in the air, hanging in the air, easier to spread the virus. Because, of course, people don't talk or sing loudly when they get drunk in a pub, of course. No, that'd be ridiculous. Nor do they bump into each other, stagger onto smooth surfaces, or get bodily fluids all over the walls and floors. That last one may just be in the men's. End of the day, the reason pubs are opening is because Boris Johnson's dad wanted a pint down the local. When he gets back from Greece, that is, where it is illegal to travel to from the UK. But, one rule for them, another for the rest of us. But there it is. I'm not quite sure how this is going to resolve. I will be keenly following when the regulations do come out, but they haven't as yet. Be interested to see what they are. It'd be interesting to see what publicans think of them in order to, are the measures they're putting in place right now still going to be suitable? And it will also be interesting finding out what happens after Saturday. But until then, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.